So the ignition coil and possibly crankshaft sensor died today on the road. I had no spark. I changed out the coil. Luckily, I carry a spare coil under the back seat. There is no back seat. Bunch of cool stuff. Moral of the story is don't go anywhere without a crankshaft sensor or ignition coil, and you can use a spare spark plug, or you could pull a spark plug too, but I always carry a spare plug. And check for spark. I also took a Phillips head screwdriver and jammed it into the nipple on the fuel rail right here for popping the cap off, just to check to see if there was any fuel in there. If it was like bone dry, but a pretty good amount of pressure and fuel came out. That's not the best test, but when you're on the side of the road and you just need to figure something out, it's better than nothing. Before I drive it again, I gotta swap the CPS, and then I actually have the ignition coil literally just floating over here right now. I just plugged in a new one to test it, and we instantly had spark, so I need to actually mount the ignition coil. It's a pain to get to those late model coils without a really long ratcheting 10 mil, especially because I have the Brown Dog motor mounts engine side brackets. And so ratcheting 10 mil helps a lot. I just ordered 2 cheap ratcheting 10 mils on Amazon to put in my tool bag, because all I had was like some little cheap dinky Harbor Freight 10 mil, and it was not cutting it. And the engine's really hot at the time, and my hands were getting burnt up, and that was not as fun as it could have been, I guess. So like, I don't have a back seat anymore. I do have, this is my trail welder, toilet paper, towels, and in here is where I had the coil, and somewhere in here I actually have a spare crankshaft sensor that I'm gonna, it's a Mopar TPS, never go anywhere without a throttle sensor. I have a spare crankshaft sensor that I need to install, because I did find my 2 trail spare crankshaft sensors. This one I keep in the glove box, and this one was under the back seat in a bag with a bunch of other sensors and relays and fuel injectors and extra wiring. It took me a while to find it. Very possible that the random dying that I experienced today was crankshaft sensor, but it's also like, you know, within 30 seconds we had no spark. Slapped in the new coil temporarily, just had it floating, and then we suddenly had spark. So I don't know if it was crankshaft sensor or if it was the coil for sure, but probably the coil. But it's also not fun when your rig dies on the road and won't start again, and so probably do crankshaft sensor next. I found my spare brand new. I would normally always use Mopar, but honestly, I had this in my XJ totes full of all kinds of stuff, computers, tons of sensors, wiring harnesses, all kinds of XJ stuff that I always keep around just in case. Ooh,